Hello ladies, we're making mac and cheese this week, so having a look at this video will help you know what you've got to do for our practical lesson. You'll see that we've got some optional extras there, such as ham. Any meat needs to be pre-cooked. The first step that we need to do is we need to boil the water for our pasta. If we don't have hot boiling water for our pasta, it won't cook as fast, and it also might not cook to the same quality as we would like. So bringing that up to the boil means that when we put the pasta in, it's able to start gelatinizing straight away, and it'll gelatinize a bit more evenly because we want that to be not sticky and smudgy on the outside and uncooked on the inside. I've put some salt in my water as well, just to help it come to the boil a little bit faster, and also to help flavour the pasta just a tiny little bit. So while I'm waiting for my water to boil, I'm going to start measuring out my sauce ingredients. So we've got some flour. We've got 25 grams of flour. I put a little bit too much in, so we're going to take a bit extra out. We've got our milk, which is 250 mils of milk. And we'll have 25 grams of butter or margarine. So we're doing it in an all-in method today. There are two different ways that we can make a white sauce, and this is a little bit of the cheats way. We, instead of making a roux, which is when we would be cooking the butter and flour off and then adding the milk gradually, we're adding it all in together. You can see that I'm mixing the milk and the flour together before I add the butter. This is just to make sure that I've not got any big lumps of flour that could potentially make lumps in my white sauce as well. So I'm giving that a little bit of a mix before I start cooking it, so that we're good to go once we're ready to cook it. So while I'm waiting for that to finish, I'm also going to quickly measure out my butter, but we can see that the bubbles are starting to come up, so that we should be able to add our pasta soon. So once we've got those big bubbles in the water, we're able to add our pasta in. Pop it in, give it a little bit of a stir. You'll see that the bubbles have kind of gone away. That's because of the coolness of the pasta has brought the temperature down. But in a few seconds, those bubbles should come up. We give it an initial stir at the start, just to make sure that the pasta is not clumping together. It's really important that you've got enough water in your saucepan to allow the pasta to move around while it's cooking. Okay, giving it a stir every now and then. And then obviously while that's going, we could be getting other stuff ready. You can be working on your sauce as well. However, I've only got the one hot plate on my my demonstration table, so we're going to let that go. Now, as the pasta is cooking, it should cook for about 12 minutes to become al dente, which means to the tooth in Italian. And so you can see that I'm just checking if my pasta's done by cutting it in half, or you can give it a bite in half. And if it's uncooked, you'll be able to see that it's got a little bit of a white line still in it. So it's still a bit uncooked. If you're tasting it, you should be able to taste that floury kind of and taste in that hard kind of taste. It won't be soft yet. So my pasta's not ready yet. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to be getting everything else ready. So I'm slicing up my tomatoes to put on the top as a little bit of colour. I've sliced up some beans to add in there as a bit of flavour, a bit of colour in my pasta as well. And we're checking the pasta again. And we can see that it's still a little bit white on the inside. So we're going to leave it a little bit longer. This is all obviously sped up. So it will take about 12 minutes for your pasta to cook. Maybe a little bit less if you're using smaller macaroni. Maybe a bit more if you're using bigger pasta like penne. So I've got a few minutes left on my pasta. And so I'm going to put my beans in. If I was using broccoli or anything like that, I'd put them in at this time as well, so that we can just cook off those beans or the broccoli a little bit in the pasta water without having to get another pot or another bowl out to put in the microwave. And it's time for the last test of the pasta. It has cooked all the way through, but it's still just a little bit floury, a little bit hard for my liking. So I'm going to let it cook just for a minute or so more. And so then once it's been cooking for a little bit more, I'm just going to double check again with a taste. And then I think, yep, that's it. That's good. Time to drain the pasta into a colander. Now that I've drained my pasta, it's time for me to make my sauce. And of course, you can be doing this at the same time to save a little bit of time. So I've stirred my milk and my flour, and I've added my butter. And then I'm using a whisk to constantly stir it. So we go stir and stir and stir and stir and stir. You can see that butter's starting to melt. Once the butter has all melted and is kind of going on top like a film, that's your clue that it's going to start gelatinizing soon and getting nice and thick. So as we keep stirring it, it's going to start thickening up as it's heating up. And we should start to see it getting nice and creamy, clinging to the whisk a bit more into the sides of the pot. And then as we continue stirring, hopefully you're not stirring as fast as I am right now, you'll see that that's gone nice and thick and creamy and is clinging nicely onto the whisk. And so we know that that's ready to go. We need to take it off the heat. So don't just turn the hob off. You need to take it completely off the heat so that it doesn't keep cooking. And then we're going to add in our cheese. Now, rather than putting it onto the bench, we're going to put it onto a cooling rack, just so that we're able to protect the bench. And then we're going to give it a bit of a stir and add our cheese in. Now, you don't want to add all of your cheese at once because we want to save some to put on the top of our mac and cheese. So we're putting about 3/4 of the cheese, and then we're giving it a good stir. Now, I'm using my spoon rather than my whisk, but you can use both. I've added a little bit of salt in there, and you can see that the residual heat from the saucepan has melted the cheese. And now it's time to put it all together. So I'm putting my pasta into my pot because it might be a bit too squidgy to fit in my sauce pot, but if it can fit in the sauce pot, by all means, pop it in there. And then we're going to give that a good stir, making sure that all the macaroni has been coated with that delicious white sauce that we've made. And then we're going to pop it into our baking tin. So you want to spread it all out, making sure that it's all out of the pot and all nice and evenly in our baking tray. And doesn't that look delicious? Yum. And then we're going to sprinkle some more of the cheese on top, and we're going to add our tomato slices and see how that just gives it a nice bit of color. And then and we can do a nice little design, make it look pretty, because we eat with our eyes, guys. 80% of food choices are made based on what the food looks like. So a little bit more cheese on the top, and it should be ready to go in under the grill just to brown that cheese up. Look at that. Looking pretty good. Delicious. So that's going to go into the grill just for a few minutes. Keep an eye on it. And then we're going to have a clean up, and we're done. While you're cleaning, make sure that you're keeping a close eye on your food in the grill so that it doesn't burn. Use your oven mitts to take it out, and then we'll see it's all nice and golden on the top. Serve that with a nice salad. Oh, yum!